in South Africa, you have to be 16 years old to legally work for someone, right? And I remember I must have been 14 or 15. In fact, I'm almost sure it was 14.
Yeah.
And I was still in school. You know, we finished school at like 2 o'clock in the afternoons, had the whole afternoon free to yourself. And there was this frozen yogurt shop. And I thought, I am so sure that I can work there because I have a friend that works there. They're over 16, but I'm almost so sure that I can work there. And in the moment, all I wanted was cash. Like, I just wanted money, like, you know, to spend on all the illegal shit I did when I was underage.
That's another video.
And then in that moment, I started working at this frozen yogurt shop. You know, you got to fill in the whole form. Totally lied about my age, lied about my identity number. And I got to work there, and I worked the evening shift. And I worked with this other older lady that ran the shop. Mm-hmm. And all I did was sweep the floors and take cash from customers. Weigh their frozen yogurt with all the shit in it, price it, and take their cash. That's all I did. And then I started noticing, oh, she's doing other stuff. Like, at the end of the day, she's filling out this form and she's printing slips from the machine. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, that looks like way more fun than sweeping the floor. Like, I'm sweeping the floor and tucking away the tables. But I don't know, what is that thing she's doing? I started asking questions like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? What are all those numbers coming out of the machine? I knew fuck all about this stuff, but I wanted to know about it. I wanted so badly to know what she was doing because it looked so cool. And she would count all the money and count all the coins and then write all the shit down. So then she started to teach me how to do that stuff. And I was over the moon. So every day I would cash up the till. I would pay the commissions. I would go and do the stock take in the back room. I would do all the stock of the little toppings that you would put on. And this shit lit up my world. And only like now do I realize, shit, I've been in love with business my entire life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in business, and it's just weird. I never saw it as anything. I just thought it was normal.
Well, this is the thing that we keep having this conversation about. You thinking the differences of you are normal. I'm sure nobody else does that. Like you've had your own hair business. Like you're in business for yourself now. You support my business.
Yeah.
Business,
I mean, after leaving the frozen yogurt shop, because it took 2 months of working there eventually for the accountant to call me and say, hey, like, we see you're on our payroll. Like, we got to register you for tax, young man. And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm going to have to give them a real identity number and whatever. So that's when it fell apart and I had to leave the frozen yogurt shop.
Yeah.
They were very sad to see me go because they loved working there and they loved me working there.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started working for the horse riding stables. And I was still underage. And then at that time, they just paid me like below the minimum wage to keep it legal, right? And I was like, I'll work for anything. Like, I think it was like $1,000 a month. It was 1,000 rand. That is like $70 a month. And I was like, oh my God, a job, I'll take it. It's $70. I'll take it. And what I got to do was do like all the shitty work around the stables. And I got to ride the horses and I got to sell the horses.
That's so great.
And that was the best thing for me. And then after that, I went into hairdressing, and that's the end of my TED Talk.
Yeah, but like I did the exact same thing. But see, in the States, I grew up in the States, and you could start working in my state at 14. You could start babysitting for money at like 12. So I started babysitting for other people's kids because I'm the oldest of 5, so I had all these babysitting skills. I basically go and watch their kids and like eat all their food. That was my thing because we weren't allowed junk food in my house. So I would go over to other people's houses, watch their kids and eat all their food. I literally would get these tubs of ice cream and like just sit there with a spoon. And maybe if I scrape it off level, they won't know that most of it's gone. So these parents come home, like all their food would be gone, but their kids are fine. So, and then when I was 14, legally you could work, but there weren't a lot of people that hired 14-year-olds. So there was Taco Bell. Taco Bell would hire 14-year-olds. So I went to Taco Bell and I got a job like almost immediately. And there was a daycare around the corner. And I was so excited to work. I like couldn't wait to get out and just work. I just wanted to work. And so I wasn't at either one of those places very long. And I absolutely do not remember what came next. But my mom was an entrepreneur. She taught piano in her home. So I wanted to work. I loved to work. And I loved I loved that sense of like having money. And then I got into the hospitality industry. So I worked for a lot of people. I mean, I've always loved business, but I worked for a lot of people. But when I got into hospitality, I realized that as a waitress, if you were just an average waitress, you didn't make a lot of money. But if you were a great waitress and you got the good sections and you connected with your regulars and you told them to ask for you at the front, that you could create your own reality within this other micro reality of the restaurant. So I did that everywhere I worked. I like made sure that the good tippers, people that I knew would come in, I said, hey, listen, just remember to ask for me when you come to the front so that they'll sit you in my section. Like, so I would inform my customers the rules so that they could actually make my life easier. And so I ran my whole hospitality career like my own business. And every single place I ever worked, everybody asked me if I owned it. Because I just did that. Because I was like, of course you own this. Like, it's mine. Like, why would I not own it? And then my officially first businesses, I'm trying to even remember. I think officially I started going into business in my 30s. Like, I actually owned a landscape design business. I started that business before I even graduated because I was so bored with school. So I was like, so I started that business. I started connecting with landscape designers right before I graduated and built that business. And then we had a landscaping company. And then I had a pizzeria before that. Oh yeah. I opened a pizzeria when I was 27 with my husband then. And we got renovated by Restaurant Makeover, that TV show. There's a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went through this whole TV. I was on TV and then that business sort of tanked. It was tanked from the beginning, I'm afraid. Then the landscape business and the landscaping design business. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to be in business. I'm going to work for someone else. I was so bored that I started to go back to school, and then access consciousness came into my life. And then I discovered you could have a business as a facilitator. And I just went like, but yeah, business for me has always been like so interesting. My mom had old checkbooks, and I would like write the checks and pay the bills and like do the ledger. I don't do that now, but I do some of it, but yeah, like that capacity. I wonder what that is. Like, I wonder what that, it's just, there's so much joy in it for me. Like I just.
Yeah, there's so much joy. And since a young age, I always watched people working on their laptops and always watched people like,
I know, me too.
dressed in their business clothes or doing their thing. And I'd be like, oh, it's so cool. That is so cool.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I was in Amway when I was 18. No, I was in business then. Yeah, I got approached by an Amway person and they like sold me on this big dream. And so, man, I went and bought suits. I was in suits at 18. I was like inspiring my mom and I was going to build my organization, and you can do that. And I was in it. I forgot about that. Oh yeah. Oh, and I did fundraisers when I was a kid. I had $1,000 in my grubby little hands once, and I fundraiser.
And you see, like money was always like an easy thing for me to make. It was always easy for me to make. I remember I was an apprentice at a hair salon, like a really busy hair salon, and I got promoted to a hairstylist. And it's like you're a junior and you get X amount of clients, and that's just the way it works. And
right, that's just the way it works. I never bought into that. I was like,
no, that's the way it works. I was always like, that's not the way it works for me. Like, hand on the hip, like, no, I ain't doing that.
That's exactly how I was. I was like, I didn't even say anything. I just was like, well, that's going to work for me. So.
And in my second month as a junior hairstylist, I remember I brought in, I think it was 55,000 Rand that month, in my second month.
That was
and that was not supposed to happen. And the manager came to me and he said, when I was a junior, I only brought in 15,000 Rand a month. And I was like, okay. And he was like, so, and then he was like, we're going to need to calm you down a little bit because it's not right for you to be making 55,000 Rand a month already. And I was like, what? I thought it was a good thing,
I had a similar, just because this is so interesting because our brilliance like shines through in all these different ways. I had an experience where I was an incredible musician, a classical musician, and then I was in band, and I started playing the French horn when I was in grade 6. So I played the piano and I played the French horn. So anyway, I had to practice like a lot to get good at the French horn, but I did. And so from grade 6 to 9, you're in middle school, which is like, 12 to 14 or something. But then you get to grade 9 and you're in high school. So grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Well, in the band, there were 4 French horn players, me, and 3 grade 12s, 3 seniors. And every month we had, I think they're called challenges. So basically you could challenge if you were, so they organized you. So there was the first chair, and then second and third and fourth and fifth, and then none of the rest of them mattered, right? Like after the third chair, you're just shrapnel in the band. So there was 4 French horns, which is kind of a lot. Well, there were challenges. We could do challenges every month for first chair. So I challenged the 3 seniors in front of me and I won. But when I was told that I won, the band director pulled me into his office. He's like, you won. He's like, but what we're going to do, if you're okay with it, is actually let these grade 12s be first, second. They're grade 12s. They're going to graduate this year. You can be first chair for the rest of your life. But I recognized then, I was like, wow, that is how, like, I never forgot that. And I was, but it was kind of okay. I mean, it was kind of okay because I was like, I knew that I was the best one there. I was the best one there. But at the same time, like, it couldn't be recognized because, like, we can't let you go above and be greater than everybody because we're all supposed to be the same.
And you're supposed to fit into your age category of.
You're supposed to match your age category, your capability. They're supposed to be at that category when really all of us were so much more capable at earlier ages than.
Like you can only be as great as what where you're currently at and where everybody else is. No greater. No standing out.
Calm down.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people doing that with business. It's like, I can't be great. And I actually did this when I was a new facilitator. I was like, I remember having lots of conversations with myself. Well, I can't do that. I'm new. Well, I can't do that. I'm new. Like, I can't put that out. I'm new. And I finally accidentally said that in front of one of my facilitator friends who actually has my back. And she was like, what? You're an infinite being. What do you want to create? And I realized how much I was doing that. Like, I have to hold myself down and not be as great, as fast, as epic, as beautiful as I really am because I'm new, because anything. So yeah.
Yeah. What if, like, like, if you're listening to this whenever, you probably know you're as undefinable as it comes.
Yeah.
And you've been trying to define yourself, and you've been defined by so many other people your whole entire life. What if you just let all of that go now and be whatever the fuck it is you want to be?
Yeah.
No matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter where you think you're supposed to be, you're new, you're old at what you do, just go.
Like create with the enthusiasm that you have for what you have, because then that's the gift. I mean, I watch the way, we all create business in our own ways, and then we create this business, and it's like, it thrives when we're all being our weird ass selves, doing what we're great at, being joyful with what we're joyful with. And that's what makes this go.
It's like, who were you before everybody told you what to be? Like that. Like me, bringing in 55,000 Rand a month, and then the next month it was 35 because I had aligned and agreed with what he had said. Now, who was that before? Be that.
Yeah. Every one of our videos is going to end like that.